Hello and welcome. It's Thursday, the 25th of November, and my name is Adam Burt. And you can hear my voice because you're watching the EtchPlay Weekly Live Show. We're here every Thursday giving you all the latest games industry news, talking about games industry things like marketing, and also we play some games as well and have a good time. I'm joined for the first segment of today's show by Tyre. How's it going, Tyre?
Going very well, thanks Adam.
I appreciate your time, and I appreciate your time at home as well if you're tuned in and watching, whether you're on Twitch or whether you're on YouTube later on. Hello in the chat to Bunyip. Thanks for tuning in. You're a first-time viewer. We appreciate you checking out the show. If you'd like a shout-out, just say hi in the chat and I will give you one. We've got people coming through now. Hello to Emma. Thanks for tuning in. Anyone else wants one, just say hi. I'm happy to oblige. Here's what's coming on today's show. Our first section today is all about Twitter. We're talking about virality and about how games go viral, what makes them viral. Is it something you can even do? Is it just beyond your wildest dreams? Which Ty's going to join me for shortly. Then we're going to be playing a bit of Hellblade, which is a game that's a couple of years old now, but we thought we'd just check it out again because why not? And then later on, Ben Joy will be here to talk about all the latest games industry news with me. Lots of big stories this week to talk about, so stick around for that as well. Hello in the chat to Miles. Thanks for tuning in. Are you ready for our first discussion, Tyre, about Twitter?
I am, and I'm very excited.
Cool. Well, let's talk about Twitter then. I think people at home will probably know what Twitter is, but for those who don't, what's the purpose of Twitter? Like, how does Twitter work?
Twitter is a social media, of course, which is mostly based around kind of discovery and algorithms and the usual kind of bits and bobs that are working in the background to try and get content to users that they're going to enjoy, interact with, sending them to places where they can buy stuff, learn stuff, find out stuff. And it is one of the kind of core platforms that is used within the games industry specifically because it seems that that's just where the games industry has really kind of thrived and grown. And we do see a lot of both game studios and game accounts on Twitter, but also people from the entire ecosystem. So people who work in the media side of things, influencers, PRs, all sorts of different parts seem to live on Twitter. So that's kind of where we look at quite a lot.
Yeah, I guess Twitter kind of skews a little bit nerdy, which kind of lines up with video games in general, doesn't it? So you've been taking a look at some games which have gone viral on Twitter, so little short videos which you can post onto Twitter. I think you can post up to like 2 minutes, 20 seconds directly, natively on Twitter, and obviously you can link off to things like YouTube. But certain games, post clips on Screenshot Saturday or just as like a general tweet during their timeline. And they just seem to take off, right? You just get some tweets just really resonate with people. And I think you're going to talk to us about a few examples, maybe one main example. What have you got for us this week?
So the main thing I want to talk about today, because I think it's one of those games marketing things that stood out to me in the last couple of months, is the viral sensation of a game called Choo Choo Charles, which is a first-person horror game created by just one person in a solo studio who I believe, according to reports, is 20 years old. And it basically follows you as the player trying to build a train to kind of get out of the way of the truly horrific train spider hybrid, which is what the game is kind of named for. So the good old Choo Choo Charles we can see in the video there is terrifying. I think when I first saw this video myself, maybe while it was going viral, definitely shared it with everyone I could. So it definitely worked, I think, because it's so unexpected, but it also plays within a lot of memes, and I think we can definitely discuss memes as kind of one of the reasons this did as well as it did.
Yeah.
But it definitely, like, having a look through kind of everything that people are saying online about this game, this really came out of nowhere. As far as viral games on Twitter, I think this has been one of the biggest examples of how huge it can go and how big this kind of viral sensation can get you. So some stats I looked up because I was really curious about it were, you know, in a few days it had generated several million views on Twitter, which for an indie game is a huge deal. As of October, it's been retweeted. So this came out on the 1st of October, sorry. So in kind of the first couple of weeks, it had been retweeted 13,000 times. It had millions of views across Twitter, YouTube, and I think TikTok as well. And it generated very impressive 90,000 wish lists in 2 weeks on Steam. And again, these are numbers that are very impressive for an indie, especially an indie that's been developed by a solo creator who has, created some games before, has had a few kind of milder successes. So he has had a little bit of a community around him. But it is very interesting, this case specifically, because it definitely was that everyone was talking about it. As soon as it went viral, you had all the big influencers talking about it. You had all the big press talking about it. It was covered quite extensively by a couple of people in the games marketing sphere. So if you're interested to learn more about the details of exactly how this went viral and kind of some of the reasons for it, I really recommend you check out the Game Discover Co. newsletter by Simon Carlis, and also the How to Market a Game breakdown by Chris Zukowski, because they really go into the numbers. And I wish I could sit here for 15 minutes and just talk about the numbers, but I'm not sure the folks at home would be as excited about that.
I can tell you what the folks at home are saying. I can tell you Bunyip has said absolutely terrifying, and Miles says absolutely horrifying. So 2 takes there, arriving at the similar conclusion. It's definitely, it just seems to resonate, doesn't it? Like the concept is so strong. Like, you're not going to forget that game. It's just going to be seared directly into your brain. Like horrifying Thomas the Tank Engine Spider hybrid. I've got it forever. I can never drop that. I can never let it go.
That's going to be in your dreams.
Yeah, as if my dreams weren't bad enough. Now I've got Choo Choo Charles to deal with. You're allowed to share numbers on the show, though. Have you got any? Maybe pick out one key number before the end of the segment, and I'll let you share one big one.
Oh gosh, I think, to be honest, for me, it's the 90,000 wish lists in 2 weeks, because I think, obviously we work in marketing, but in my previous life I was working exclusively as a marketing campaign person on indie games. So seeing a number like 90,000 wish lists in 2 weeks is astronomical for the kind of numbers that these games usually get. And it's very interesting because it's a very common question that I would get when I was working primarily, with indie developers and studios. Like, how can I make my game go viral? And sorry, Loiner is being very funny in chat.
Don't encourage him. He says, "I hope he doesn't choose me," which I begrudgingly admit is funny.
It's very funny.
But you're talking about that lightning in a bottle moment, that people want to be able to capture mimetic quality. They want to be on the front page of Reddit. They want all these things, but they're quite hard to actually replicate. And I mean, it takes real skill, even just to keep up with like the zeitgeist, right? Even just keep up with what's trendy and what's on topic, what people are talking about. To actually surf that wave rather than even just being in it and being on top is nigh on impossible or extremely difficult to do, right?
It's extremely difficult. And I think one thing that I would always tell my clients, and one thing I still say to this day, is there's a lot of components to a game or a video going viral, and a lot of the time some of them will overlap, but a lot of the time there'll be just something different about that timing or that game that helps it to get to that place. So we can study the games that go viral, we can see what kind of goes on with them, but really you wouldn't be able to follow the exact same path as that game and arrive at the same conclusion. So it's not really something that you could Sorry, they're all
Okay,
being
you
punny.
should close chat because I feel like you can't help yourself but look at people making
I
jokes
can't.
in chat.
I can't. It's fine.
Okay, tell us about another game because I know that you've put forward that you want to talk about another spider-related game. You want to talk about webs,
Yes.
right?
So going from absolutely terrifying to absolutely adorable, another game that did go fairly viral recently, not as quite viral as Choo Choo Charles, but the very adorable Webbed, which I have played and I had the most amazing time with, follows a little spider who is trying to find um, either her friend or her boyfriend, I can't remember which one, that gets stolen by a bird. And it's basically like a little physics puzzler where you use the spider's web to get around and solve problems and kind of find your way in the adventure. So this also went very viral with a single video on Twitter before it was out. So I think when it was still in development. And I believe all the video that was shown in that first instance was literally just some of the web mechanics.
Yeah.
Some of the early kind of showing kind of how they were working, and people absolutely loved it. You know, there was a lot of people just falling in love with the spider, even though they don't like spiders. I'm one of them. There's people really impressed with kind of the web physics and all the different things that were shown to be possible in this demo video, and it just went on the rounds. It got featured on Wholesome Games, and it kind of went from there. So I think very different game, even though it's still spider related, but a very similar kind of process where a single video really elevated this game beyond, I think, what potentially the devs were expecting. And I'm very glad because they made an amazing game that deserves all the love.
Yeah.
I think another one that.
What I was going to say about that one, just before we move on, is like that one's interesting mechanically, isn't it? Like, whereas the first one has just got a strong like villain, this is really about those. What you think it's going to be fun ninja roping your way around with the webs when you see the video, which I think is really cool. But sorry, you wanted to move on. You wanted to move on to another game. You want to talk about Unpacking, right?
Oh, I do, because I played that this weekend, so I'm very excited about Unpacking.
Okay, tell us about Unpacking then.
Another game that did go viral as well. Another really simple game, really cute, again, pixelated. I think there is definitely a trend of these games kind of catching attention a lot more recently, and it is really adorable. Again, it went viral with a single video where what you see is basically the game is you get a bunch of boxes, you take stuff out of the boxes, and then you arrange them however you see fit in this kind of apartment. And that's all it was, really. And I think with this one, I definitely bought into it as soon as I saw it. This video really went along the trend of like almost ASMR based, like satisfying videos. You know, those ones where people are literally, you know, they take like a bunch of things and they just arrange them in a certain order on the video, and people love that. I think it really, really kind of played into that. And having played the game, I haven't finished it just yet. I think I'm about halfway through. It definitely comes across, you know, it's no more complicated than exactly what you're seeing in terms of functionality. You know, you're literally just taking stuff out, seeing it somewhere in the room, seeing if it kind of fits, moving things around to make other things fit. It also has an amazing story, which just gets told through the mechanics, which is a really interesting way of doing it, but you wouldn't really be able to kind of see that in the trailer. But again, indie game, fairly kind of small at the start, sort of really, really big, kind of viral sensation, and it went on to become a really kind of a gem that everyone was excited for, and it did come out very recently. So another good one to try out.
The folks at home can actually see this is me playing the game the other day. I would say I'm going to be really dismissive of this game now. The game's wonderful, but for me, I think it's Animal Crossing for people who want Animal Crossing to be even more boring. Like, they just want to do the most basic form of a chore. They don't even want to have to do several chores. They just want one chore and just to do that repeatedly. But I think the way that it really tells the story, I think, is interesting, and it's obviously resonating with a lot of people. There's clearly a market for people just to do these kind of relaxing, wholesome is another word that you used as well. Wholesome experiences that really deviate from the traditional norms of what we expect games to be. So in that sense, I think it absolutely deserves to be celebrated. You can play it on Game Pass as well. It's It is available to you if you pay that subscription fee. You can check it out on. This is me playing on the Xbox, but I'm guessing you can probably get it on the PC as well.
That's where I played it.
Nice. So what are the kind of takeaways? What should people be thinking? I know you can't guarantee that a game's going to go viral, but what are some of the ingredients that can help garner that kind of attention and maybe have some viral sparks, even if you don't get the full viral experience?
So I think and these are kind of things that I've seen myself, but also things that I've seen other people talk about quite a lot. You know, with virality, a lot of it is down to luck. You know, that is something you can't really prepare for. It's not really something you can fake. It's not something you can kind of expect to happen. But it isn't all luck. And I think what people who are hoping to kind of try and improve their chances of a viral hit to do is thinking about the virality as kind of a completely secondary thing, and just thinking about the product, you know, the game. What is it about the game that's going to potentially go viral? You know, if you're making a game that is very similar to other games and functions very similarly to other games, probably isn't as likely to go viral because there's nothing kind of that stands out about it that might kind of catch people's eyes. As you said very rightly, Adam, in Choo Choo Charles, it is the baddie. You know, as soon as you see that, and especially if you are someone who plays a lot of games and you know how much, you know, Thomas the Tank Engine comes up in mods and in kind of the community and the vernacular, you know, as soon as you see it, you're like, I kind of get this.
Yeah, I
know?
assumed it
This
was a
is something-
Skyrim mod when I first saw it. Like,
Yep.
if I see a train, especially if it's Thomas the Tank Engine, I assume someone's playing Skyrim.
And I think that's kind of the thing where it's like it's both a really interesting product, but also it's taking something ridiculous but familiar, which is really interesting. With Webbed, again, it was that really simple, cute little indie game, but with web physics that were, you know, as in depth as any Spider-Man game. You know, like really, they've put so much work into getting those right, which I think really resonated with people. With unpacking, I think there are two kinds of people in the world. There's people like Adam who don't want to do chores in games. But they
People
do
like
in
me who
real
hate
life.
fun.
And then people who love doing chores in games, which is someone like me. So I think for those half of people, this game just kind of came at the right time, and it was like, yeah, we're gonna enjoy that. And kind of, yeah, having that product, but also, like you say, a lot of it is about the hard work of staying on top of what's happening. You know, that timing and that right place and right time to be at to go viral. You need to be really aware of exactly what is going on in the wider community. So if you see an opportunity, you can kind of increase your chances by doing something different or doing something exciting or special. And I think in this case, I think all of those games had some of those elements at them. And, you know, the main thing is to remember is your game can still succeed without going viral. You know, it's not a prerequisite to marketing. It can be a really nice boost, but it can be a lot harder work to try and chase after that virality and get nothing back than just doing everyday run-the-mill marketing where you're just building your awareness kind of more gradually. And you could end up at the same level.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're definitely right about that timing aspect. It's almost like, I feel like wholesome games really had a real moment in 2020, and still now they're having that moment because the world generally outside was so horrible. People were just like, you know what I'm really in the mood for? Something completely comforting, something that feels like a blanket, something that's just joyous. And spotting those sorts of opportunities, those trends in mood, and being like, you know what, people right now really need or really want a game just like mine. That's the time to potentially strike. And I guess the the golden thing to think about is, you know, you look at these people who've gone viral and you think, oh, how lucky they are, and they are lucky, but how many days does it take to become an overnight success? These people have put in the work. They've been regularly promoting their games in other ways throughout. It's not like they, you know, put one post up and it just caught fire straight away. Typically, they will have built a little community, or they will have established themselves, or posted other days and it's not really worked out. So yeah, lots of food for thought there, and I appreciate your time, Tyre, and thanks for your insight as ever.